In this video, we will discuss section 2.4, linear functions. Now, we've already looked at linear equations, and we just recently talked about functions, and so this is just looking at linear equations written with function notation. So, not really anything different than what we've been doing. Alright, and what we want to do, there's a couple different ways you can graph an equation. And one such way that we did earlier was we picked values for x and solved for y, or we picked for y and solved for x, and we made a table of solutions, and we used that table to then graph the equation. Alright, well there are a couple different ways. We're going to look at some of those in this video. There are also a couple different ways to write an equation. So if you see ax plus by equals c, this is standard form, and so it may require you in your homework to write it in standard form, or in other locations it may ask for standard form, and that simply means have the x and the y variable on the same side equal to the constant. What we're going to look at now is graphing equations using the x and the y intercepts. And so the x-intercept is the location where the graph crosses the x-axis. And if you look at the x-axis, any point that's on the axis itself has a y value of 0. And then depending where you land on the axis, what point you choose to look at, will determine the x value. So the x-intercepts are always some x value and the y value is always 0. For the y-intercept, this is the point where our graph is going to cross the y-axis. And so if you're looking at the y-axis, if I pick any point on that y-axis, the x value is 0 because I haven't gone any left or right, I've just gone up or down. And so x is always 0, and then it'll just depend where I'm at on the y-axis as to what my y value will be. Alright, and that is 2 points that we could use to graph our equation. Alright, so we're going to do that now. Alright, so remember f of x is the same thing as y equals. And I want to graph using the x and y intercepts. So first I want to find those. Alright, so if I want to find the x-intercept, alright, I know that the y value is 0. That's according to this right here because this is the point where it crosses the x-axis. The y value is always 0. So what I'm going to do is put a 0 in y's place, and then I'm going to solve for x. So I'll have 0 equals negative 2x plus 6. Then I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. Negative 6 equals negative 2x. Then I'm going to divide by negative 2 to get a 3. Alright, so that means the x-intercept is at the point 3. And we already know that y should be a 0 because that's what we filled in. So I can come over here from the origin count, write 3 and put me a dot. Alright, now I need a second point, and that's going to be my y-intercept. Alright, and according to the y-intercept, we know that the x value is 0. Alright, so what I'm going to do is fill in a 0 for x. So this is going to say y equals negative 2 times 0 plus 6, so I just fill it into my equation. Remember, f of x and y, interchangeable. I'll have 0 plus 6. Alright, so that'll give me the point 0, 6. Alright, to graph that, I come to the origin. I don't go any left or right, but I go up 6. Alright, then I can use a straight edge, or if I can draw real well, and just connect the dots to form my straight line. Alright, if you wanted to check your answer to make sure that you have the correct dots, to make sure it's all lining up, pick some other value like we did on the last homework, the last test. You might pick a 1. If I filled in a 1, that would give me negative 2 plus 6 is 4. So 1, and then if I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, notice that puts me right on the line. Alright, so I know my 2 points, my intercepts, are lining up correctly, and I have solved it correctly using the y-intercepts. Okay, looking at the next one, it says f of x equals -3. So what this means is y equals -3. Now notice that we're missing an x variable. When this should happen, this means it doesn't matter what I pick for x, y is always going to be a -3. So I could pick anything I wanted for x, 0, 1, -2, anything, and then my y is just going to be a 3. So if I graphed that, alright, I can't fill in a value for x or y. Alright, and here's why. So if you notice, all the y's are -3, that's what this says. Alright, so if I graph it, we're going to go none left to right, down 3, right 1, down 3, left 2, down 3. Alright, and if I just kept doing that, then I would just get points, alright, where the y value is -3. This forms a horizontal line. Notice it doesn't touch the x-axis at all. Alright, and notice when I pick my, for the y-intercept, when I fill in 0 or have a 0, that the y value is automatically -3. Now you can see here that's where it crosses at. Alright. This is a horizontal line, so anytime you have y equals a number or x equals a number, automatically you should know it's a horizontal line and it's going to be graphed on the y value that's stated. Alright, so what if I have x equals -3? Alright, that's going to be something similar. Alright, and it says, alright, notice we're missing the y. So it says no matter what I pick for y, x is going to be a -3. X is -3. So every single point, x is -3. And I can pick anything I want to for y. Alright, so when I go over here to graph it, I'll go to -3, -3, -2, -3, -1, -3, 0, -3, 1, -3, 2. Alright, so if I go to -3 and I connect on my dots, alright, notice that I form, this time not horizontal, but vertical. Alright, and we cross the x-axis at the point -3, 0, so this would be my only intercept, and it would be the x one. I don't cross the y-axis at all. Alright, so anytime I see x equals a number, I know that this is going to be a vertical line where x is that value. Right, let's come back up here and say when y is equal to some number, this is horizontal. Alright, they're just constants. Okay, so now let's look at number 4. 4x minus 5y equals 0. I want to solve using the intercept. So for the x-intercept, I'm going to let y be 0. Alright, and I'll get the point 0, 0. So when I fill in for 0, I get 4x equals 0. Divide by 4, x is 0. So I filled in a 0 for y and I got a 0 for x. Alright, so there is my x-intercept. Now you'll notice when you fill in for the y-intercept, alright, so I'm going to put a 0 in x's place and solve for y. And when I do that, I get the exact same point, 0, 0. Alright, now you have to have at least 2 points to graph a line, so that means I can't have 1 point and graph it. I don't know which way to go with it. So I need to find me one other value, and that's where you can pick whatever you want to. So let's see. How about let's do 5. 4 times 5. That'll give me 20 minus 5y equals 0. negative 5y equals negative 20, and y equals 4, so that'll give me the point. I filled in a 5 for x, and I got a 4 for y, so that'll be 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, then I connect the dots. So remember, you have to have at least 2 different points, preferably 3 different points, alright, to draw a line. And when I found the intercepts, I found that the x and y intercept are the exact same. Right, so that's the same point. They are not different. They are in the exact same location. So to graph the equation, I'm going to need an additional point. And that's what I did here, just like we did on the last test. Picked a value for x, filled it in, and solved for y. Alright, let's take a look at the next topic, which is slope. And you've probably all heard slope. Alright, so slope in math is designated by the letter M, and it's called and found various ways. And one such way is to use the slope formula. And it says to subtract the y values over subtracting the x values. So the difference in the y's over the differences in the x's. And that's what this right here says, the change in y over the change in x. Or you've probably heard it called rise over run. The rise is the up and down, the run is the left and right. Alright. Also, the slope of a vertical line is undefined, and the slope of a horizontal line is 0. Alright, and we've seen vertical lines and horizontal lines in problems 2 and 3. Alright, so what we're going to do now is find the slope of the line given some points. And so the only way we can find the slope with 2 points is to use the formula. Alright, and it says to take the y values and subtract them. Now it doesn't matter which one comes first, as long as whichever y value you use first, you use its x value first on the bottom. So I'm going to say 8. The formula says to do minus negative 3. Alright, so I said y minus y. Now because I used 8 first on the top, that means I have to use negative 4 first on the bottom. So I'm going to do negative 4. This formula says minus the number 2. Alright, then that would give me 8 plus 3. Negative 4 and negative 2 make negative 6. So my slope would be 11 over negative 6. Alright, and 11 over negative 6 is the same thing as negative 11 over 6, or the opposite of 11 over 6. Excuse me. Alright, now let's look at the next. Alright, my points are 2, 7, and 2, negative 4. Oh, let me show you this right here before I go into that one. So I could have found the slope by using negative 3 first. So I'd have said negative 3 minus 8 on the top, using this y value first and this one second. And so on the bottom, I would have used 2 minus negative 4. And I've gotten a negative 11. 2 minus negative 4 becomes 2 plus 4, which is 6. Alright, so notice that's the same thing, alright, as what we got previously. As long as your x and y's, whichever one you put first, the other value comes first also. Alright, let's go through this real quick here. For the slope, I'm going to say negative 4 minus 7, and then I'm going to say 2 minus 2. That would be negative 11 over 0, and we know that any slope or any fraction with a 0 in the bottom means undefined. So the slope of this would be undefined. That means this must be a vertical line, because that's what this right here just told us. Alright, and a vertical line we know has an equation of x equals, so I should be able to also write the equation of this line because I see my x values are the same, so I could say x equals 2. Alright, over here we'd have negative 3 plus 3, so that's 3 minus 3 over 5 plus 2 would give me 0